Timothy Johnson and his wife Latricia say their relative escaped from a house of horrors. Now she's in a hospital recovering from horrific injuries. Half of her face is burned off.
The doctor said, brace yourself before you walk in.
Walked in the room, I fell, my sister and the nurse had to try to grab me.
Now the Johnsons say the girl is permanently disfigured. So far, they tell me she's lost multiple teeth, had an eye removed, and underwent lengthy skin graft procedures.
As the sheriff was saying, it's just, it's hard to understand how a mother can allow something like this to happen to a child.
Sheriff, to do this to a child, is there some sort of mental health component to these two people, or are they just pure evil?
Well, you know, to get in the mind of somebody, I would say they're probably pure evil. But, you know, I'm sure they might have some mental issues going on, but regardless of what's going on mentally, I'm 100% confident they know the difference between right and wrong, and we're going to make sure justice is served.
Sheldon, little bootleg ass studio.
I was down on my looking to hit me a lick, ready to get into some since I was legit. I had big dreams of getting rich. Now we leveling up in this. Take a look at my kicks. You know we stepping on toughest nigga. First one to get hit, don't make me send a blitz. My head is itching for it. Hollow to spit like a list, but wait. Whoa.
Paul, now it's the motherfucking Kate Deal. Welcome back to Sheldon's bootleg ass studio, where we come to kick it, vibe out, and shoot the shit with Sheldon. I appreciate each and every last one of y'all for pulling up. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's go ahead and get up into this video of today. All right, now the title reads, the 15-year-old who survived being R-worded, we're gonna say popped, and burned by her mom and predator boyfriend. So this ought to be a wild story right here, and it's miraculous that she survived. Thank God for that. But let's not waste no time. Let's go ahead and jump up into this video. Make sure that like button lit, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, or if you're a returning viewer who think that you are subscribed, or if you're trying to decide if you subscribed. If this your second, third, fourth, fifth video, you fornicate with the channel, go ahead and subscribe. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump up into this video right now.
If you ain't fucking with my nigga Sheldon, nigga, fuck you. Yeah.
Timothy Johnson and his wife Latricia say their relative escaped from a house of horrors. Now she's in a hospital recovering from horrific injuries. Half of her face is burned off.
The doctor said, brace yourself before you walk in.
Walked in the room, I fell, my sister and the nurse had to try to grab me.
Now the Johnsons say the girl is permanently disfigured. So far, they tell me she's lost multiple teeth, had an eye removed, and underwent lengthy skin graft procedures. The teen has an upcoming surgery to repair her palate and mouth, with many more extensive and invasive surgeries ahead.
This is 15-year-old Tamray Johnson. At the time of making this video, this innocent girl is in the hospital fighting for her life after going through a horrific ordeal at the hands of her mother, 40-year-old LaTonya Harris, and her mother's boyfriend, 41-year-old Terrence Washington. These two monsters brutalized this little girl, did vile things to her, and fired at her with a gun twice, once in the face and once in the chest. As if that wasn't terrible enough, they set her on fire while she was still alive.
Damn.
Now, in the hospital, one of Tamray's eyes has been removed because it was completely damaged by the bullet. She has lost multiple teeth, and she's also undergoing different kinds of surgeries to repair her palate and mouth. Now, the question is, how evil can a person really be to a child? Least of all, their own child. You see, the details of this case are as horrifying as they're evil. So, if you don't have the stomach for it, now is the best time to stop watching. Tamray Johnson was a 15-year-old girl who had her life ahead of her. Her family described her as a bright and fun-loving sweetheart.
Every day, all day. She's in good spirits. She is laughing. She has her days, but she's thriving, she's fighting, she's surviving.
Her father, Timothy Johnson, had a relationship with her mother, LaTonya Harris, but they separated shortly after Tamira was born. Timothy would later get married to his wife, Latricia Johnson, while LaTonya started a new relationship with 41-year-old Terrence Washington. Tamira lived exclusively with her father and stepmom from 2017 to 2020.
Sound like the mama was the problem. If he left her shortly after the baby was born, and then he was able to move on and get married, sound like the mama was the reason why they split. They couldn't, get on the same page or something.
After that time, she moved back to Louisiana to live with her mother and her boyfriend. Tamira wanted a change of environment, and she also wanted to attend high school there. But most importantly, Tamira told her dad and stepmom that she wanted to rebuild her relationship with her mom. Since she was entering high school at the time, Timothy and Latricia also wanted to give her the opportunity to live with her mom for her last few years of grade school. So, they let her move to Louisiana to stay with her mom. And while she was there, everything seemed fine for the first few months. Tamira often communicated with her father and stepmom. But after some time, their communication broke.
Why they put this white person for B-roll? They could have found somebody black to add in for some B-roll. God dog.
Timothy and Latricia said they made numerous attempts through different avenues to reconnect with Tamira and find out what was going on with her. But all their efforts were unsuccessful, as they were unable to establish communication with her. So, they just assumed she was fine and didn't think much of the whole thing, because they probably thought she was in safe hands and that no harm would come to her while living with her mother. I mean, it would be out of place to think so. She couldn't be safer anywhere else. This was her she was living with, right? But no, we would all be wrong, because while Tamre was living with her mother, LaTonya, and her boyfriend, Washington, the couple would stop her from communicating with her father. During this period, LaTonya and Washington abused and did so many unspeakable and vile things to Tamira. They fired at her twice on different occasions, once in the face and once in the chest. They set her on fire multiple times and were on their way from Louisiana to Houston, where they planned to finish her off and discard her body before law enforcement apprehended them.
Damn, that's wild. And I know that daddy just really hate like hell that he went ahead and released her to her mom for the time that he allowed. Because I'm sure he probably was like, he wanted to give some pushback on it. But at the same time, he didn't want to deny her. But
if you didn't want her, you could have brought her back. You could have called. We would have came got her. You just could have brought her back to where she was loved at.
So is this the wife of the father, or like another family member or something? Because I missed it.
On April 20th, 2024, Baytown law enforcement received complaints about a vehicle that was driving recklessly on Interstate 10. The officers quickly responded and tracked down the vehicle. But by the time they arrived at the scene, the vehicle had already crashed on a service road. Inside the vehicle, they found 40-year-old LaTonya Harris and his 41-year-old boyfriend, Terrence Washington.
They said, and his 41-year-old, hold on.
Inside the vehicle, they found 40-year-old LaTonya Harris and his 41-year-old boyfriend, Terrence Washington.
Her?
Sitting in the back seat was another 10-year-old girl, and then 15-year-old Tamira, who, according to law enforcement reports, was badly burned.
Who was the 10-year-old?
Shoot multiple times, but still clinging to life.
When Baytown officers arrived on the scene, they located a driver armed with a handgun who was taken into custody by Baytown Police Department. Baytown PD located 2 adults and 2 juveniles in the vehicle. The adult driver was identified as Terrence Washington. Adult from the front passenger was identified as LaTonya Harris, along with a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old female passengers.
Tamira was quickly rushed to the hospital, where doctors confirmed that she had been fired in the face and chest. There were also 3rd and 4th degree burns to 30%.
So did the 10-year-old witness all of this? Did the 10-year-old get any of this abuse too? Because if the 10-year-old didn't get any of this physical abuse, witnessing it is enough mental abuse alone. You feel me? So,
of her upper body. An investigator with the Baytown Law Enforcement Department described Tamira's injuries as the worst she had seen in her entire career.
The 15-year-old female was found to be suffering from large-scale burns to the majority of her upper body and multiple gunshot wounds. She was transported to a local hospital in a home in Houston, Texas area.
It's just so horrifying to imagine what this little girl suffered at the hands of these monsters, one of whom was actually her own mother. Not a stepmom, not an aunt or a relative, but her own biological mother. It's heartbreaking, to say the least. Anyway, while Tamira was receiving treatments in the hospital for her injuries, the investigators took her mother's boyfriend, Washington, into custody for questioning. During the interview, Washington,
You know he done fondled with her. I mean, I'm quite sure of it.
reportedly admitted to
And the mama
firing
allowed it.
Tamira twice during an argument with her mother, Latonia, at their home in Thibodaux, Louisiana.
So he fired at the daughter for having, hold on, was he arguing with the mother or was she arguing with the mother? Was he trying to protect his woman or was he shooting at her child for her? You see what I'm saying?
For her injuries, the investigators took her mother's boyfriend, Washington, into custody for questioning. During the interview, Washington reportedly admitted to firing at Tamira twice during an argument with her mother, Latonia, at their home in Thibodaux, Louisiana. He also admitted to doing vile and nasty things to the little girl for several months under her mother's watch. Washington told the investigators that it was his girlfriend, Latonia, who burned Tamira in February, and he said she refused to take her to the hospital to get proper medical care. When the investigators interviewed the other 10-year-old child, who was with them in the car during the crash, she told them that she woke up one day during the Mardi Gras season to see Latonia standing over Tamira's bed, holding a bottle of rubbing alcohol and a lighter. She said Latonia would then go to light Tamira on fire and watch her own child as she burnt, writhing in agony and pain.
Through the investigation, detectives learned that mid-February 2024, the juvenile female was burned after Latonia Harris had learned of a sexual assault committed on the juvenile by her fiance.
So instead of the mother being upset at her fiance, this grown-ass man, for fondling with her child, she goes and takes it out on the child for being sexy and for the child looking good to her fiance. Since the fiance wants her child, she takes it out on the child. Is that what's going on? It sounds like to me she knew what was going on. He fondled with her, like he said, under her watch. She allowed it. So
Terrence Washington. Harris burned the juvenile with flammable liquid in a lighter at the Thibodaux residence in Terrebonne. It was later determined that the victim received 3rd and 4th degree burns over 30% of her body. Since the intentional burning in mid-February, Harris and Washington both denied medical treatment to the juvenile.
Following these disturbing revelations, the investigators quickly obtained a search warrant for Washington and Latonia's home in Thibodaux, Louisiana. During the search, the authorities stated that detectives discovered evidence to confirm that a weapon was shot inside the home, and in addition to blood evidence, the strong odor of infection and decomposing flesh could be smelled. Following these discoveries, the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office arranged for a second interview with Washington. During this interview, Washington admitted that he fired at Tamira on 2 separate occasions, one of which was on April 19, 2024. He claimed that during an argument with his girlfriend, Latonia, the gun he was holding accidentally went off and struck Tamira in the face.
In the weeks leading to April 21st, a wreck, Terrence Washington shot the juvenile on 2 separate days within the residence. Washington Harrison placed the 2 juveniles in a vehicle where they drove to Texas and crashed while Washington was driving recklessly. The juvenile was found with life-threatening injuries and being treated for gunshots and burns injuries.
Washington also confirmed to the investigators that his girlfriend, Latonia, burnt her daughter, Tamira, after she learned that Washington had been sleeping with the 15-year-old and was doing other nasty things to her. Obviously, Latonia blamed her daughter for the vile things Washington did to her. Now,
As I
What kind
mentioned,
of a mother would do something like that to her child, blaming her for something that was completely out of her control, instead of protecting her from the monster she brought into her life.
You have to be a monster to tell a child to make it seem like it's her fault.
This woman chose this good-for-nothing rascal over her own daughter.
Like I said, this is probably one of the most horrific cases I've seen and prosecuted in my 27 and a half years as district attorney.
What's more disturbing?
I think they say that all the time. I think they say that all the time just to pour a little more salt on the wound of the perpetrators, you know, to make sure that they get what they deserve, which is cool. I'm not upset at that. It's just the fact that I hear this quite often, you know. I mean, and this is a bad case. This is quite egregious, like, you know, but we've seen things like this happen. We've seen parents take their children out, children take their parents out. We've seen these things happen, and I'm sure in his 27 years, he's seen a lot.
Is the fact that she felt no remorse for her actions and refused to take her to the hospital for proper medical care. Instead, she decided to treat her at home, further endangering the girl's life.
This is a conscience shocker. And I said
That's
it before.
her. If she 15, what's she doing in that thing? Unless it's a big motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? But they look like a child.
It's like trying to wrap your head around anybody can do anything to anyone like that. But it's a conscience shocker, especially when it's a family member, a mother. So is it a conscience shocker? You know, I served 22 years in the Marine Corps and seen a lot of things, and this has shocked me more than most of the things I've dealt with in my 22 years in the Marine Corps.
On May 9th, LaTonya Harris was released from a hospital where she was receiving treatment for the injuries she sustained during the crash. She was subsequently arrested before returning to Terrebonne Parish and was brought in for questioning, but refused to speak with investigators. She faces charges of attempted second-degree murder, cruelty to a juvenile, and domestic abuse battery child endangerment. Harris is being held in the Terrebonne Parish Criminal Justice Complex on a $1 million bond. Terrence Washington, on the other hand, was charged with attempted first-degree murder and other related charges for the vile things he did to Tamira. He's currently being jailed in Texas, but an arrest warrant has been issued for his extradition to Louisiana, where he will face charges of 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder, second-degree cruelty to a juvenile, 3 counts of indecent behavior with a juvenile, and 5 counts for forcefully sleeping with a minor.
This case can shock anybody's conscience. But one thing I vow, we're gonna work very hard with a district attorney, and we're gonna find justice for that victim. She deserves that, and I promise you I won't sleep till we know that young lady gets the justice she deserves. What I'm gonna tell you is about resilience, and another word I'd mention is called presence of mind. She's an incredible young lady to be able to encounter what she went through and be able to tell our detectives what happened. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
You could hear the pain and anger in the sheriff's voice.
Yeah, that man, his chin trembling. He for real.
As he's trying so hard to hold back his tears.
As the sheriff was saying, it's just, it's hard to understand how a mother can allow something like this to happen to a child. It's just
crazy.
It's just so hard to believe that a mother would do a thing like this to her own daughter in a world where a lot of people are childless and hundreds of others are adopting other people's children and would put their lives on the line to protect them.
You know, there's so many families that willing to take in, adopt, to bring in kids, and here a mother's gonna allow this to happen to her.
And they are neglecting the fact that this child has a father, grew up with her father, was living with her father in a nice home, in a family. The father was married. So she had the perfect example set up for her, you know. So she had a home. She had somewhere to go. This mother could have easily released her ass back to her father, but no, she cut off communication with her father. And she was doing all these egregious acts. So yeah, that's one way to look at it. Adoption, but she also had a home to go to.
It brings all kind of questions into the mind.
Questions like, was LaTonya and Washington having some mental health crisis? Were they
Drugs.
insane or completely mad?
Sheriff, to do this to a child, is there some sort of mental health component to these two people, or are they just pure evil?
Well, you know, to get in the mind of somebody, I would say they're probably pure evil.
I would like that answer in a whole lot of these cases that people try to plead insanity. Because people forget that evil is a thing. They like to lean on this fact of somebody proclaiming their insanity. That's just a cop-out. Yeah, they just use that as a scapegoat. You feel me? People often forget that evil lurks. And a lot of these people aren't insane. They're just evil. That's just what that is.
But, you know, I'm sure they might have some mental issues going on, but regardless of what's going on mentally, I'm 100% confident they know the difference between right and wrong, and we're going to make sure justice is served.
Yeah, we need that across the board with everybody.
Tamira's father and stepmom are completely devastated by what happened to her. I mean, how could anybody not be heartbroken by what happened to this little girl?
The father probably can't even go on cam. He probably like, nah, baby, I'm going to need you to do that for me. You can speak for me because I can't do it.
When she tells her story, everyone's gonna see how hard she fought to be here. She fought them to be here. The doctor said, brace yourself before you walk in.
Walked in the room.
Oh yeah, that's the daddy right there. Yeah. So he off cam. He was there, but he's off cam. Understood.
My sister and the nurse had to try to grab me. She looked dead. I don't know how I feel. I'm confused, I'm hurt, I'm angry.
At that point, it went from shocked and confused to devastating and hurt, and why.
They said she wanted to be an attorney in the future to help mentor other children stuck in the horrific cycle of abuse.
I think that's gonna be her calling, that's gonna be her ministry. Despite everything she's been through, she doesn't hate anyone.
Tamira is still in the hospital, fighting for her life.
It's hurting to hear her tell me everything she went through. And no one had a clue.
Sadly, this little girl is scarred and disfigured for life. The bullet from when she was fired in the face completely damaged one of her eyes, and the doctors have removed that eye. They have also removed some of her teeth, and she has undergone lengthy skin graft procedures.
It's horrific. It's horrific. Just looking at the photos, it will turn your stomach. It will shock you as the magnitude of this case that we're dealing with.
She has an upcoming...
They had to remove her eye. And what? Some of her teeth?
...is scarred and disfigured for life. The bullet from when she was fired in the face completely damaged one of her eyes, and the doctors have removed that eye. They have also removed some of her teeth, and she has undergone lengthy skin graft procedures.
It's horrific. It's horrific. Just looking at the photos, it will turn your stomach. It will shock you as the magnitude of this case that we're dealing with.
She has an upcoming surgery to repair her palate and mouth, with many more invasive surgeries ahead.
They took a lot away from her, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
But even with everything she has been through, Tamira is still in good spirit.
This kid going through all this, and she worrying about me being stressed.
She told us one night, she said, even though I'm still in the hospital and I'm ready to come home, I feel so free.
I feel free. I'm finally free.
That's crazy right there. Because who wants to be in the hospital? But if you rather be in the hospital than be in the situation you was in, that says a lot.
She's indeed free from that house of horror and from the clutches of those monsters who took her life away from her and even threatened her not to tell anyone.
She said he got power, he know people. She was scared.
She shut her off from the outside world and opted to homeschool her instead.
That nigga ain't have no power. That nigga ain't know nobody.
Because they knew
that
their cover would be blown if she made contact with the outside world.
This torture went on for months.
That's crazy.
Did this 15-year-old, 10-year-old, were they in school? Were they withheld from going to school?
Homeschooled.
How did this go unaware for so long?
They were homeschooled.
Homeschooled, eh? Homeschooled, eh? Well, that sums it up right there then. I'm guessing she was strictly supervised and couldn't leave or do nothing. They had her under their thumb.
Justice for this girl.
Damn.
I feel confident as we stand here that we will get convictions and put these terrible people in jail for a long, long time, hopefully for the rest of their lives.
But will locking them up for the rest of their miserable lives be a good measure of justice in this case? No, I don't think so.
These are bad people for what they've done to a very young girl. But the key word is justice. Will we ever get justice for this person? I don't think that we can.
Even giving them the ultimate sentence wouldn't amount to justice, because these monsters took this little girl's life away from her. She's scarred and disfigured for life, and no level of punishment meted on Washington and LaTonya will ever change that.
Putting him away, but still getting justice for this little girl, what she's been through, the parts of her body that she's lost, the horrific mental and physical scars that she'll endure for the rest of her life. Like the sheriff said, we'll attempt to get justice, and we will put him away. Whether or not it'll be true justice, I'm not sure that we can do that because of the magnitude of this particular case.
LaTonya and Washington will make their first appearance before a judge on June 24th, 2024. But in the meantime, Tamira is still in the hospital with her family, and they're giving her all the support she needs. According to her stepmother, through a post she shared on her Facebook page on May 29th, 2024, she said, "Tamira is having her surgery tomorrow to repair her palate and mouth. It will be 10+ hour surgery. She will be getting a feeding tube placed, which will remain until her mouth is healed. She won't be able to talk. We will communicate through writing on notepads and texting, but she is ready to get it over. She is courageous and resilient. Please keep her and all the hospital staff in your prayers." On the same day she made this post, she was at the hospital with Tamira's two step-siblings, 10-year-old Kyla and 3-year-old Kaylee, sharing the emotional moment when the three siblings reunited. Latricia wrote, "We brought Kyla and Kaylee to visit Tamira for the first time, and it was amazing to see them together. They played games and made bracelets. Kaylee, 3, was scared at first and didn't recognize her but knew the voice. After a while, she warmed up, and Tamira showed her pictures of them together. She asked her, 'Are you my sister Tamira?' And Tamira replied, 'Yes, it's me.'
Damn.
She asked her what happened to her eye, and Tamira explained, but not in details. And after that, it was all smiles and hugs. She even cried to stay with Tamira when it was time to leave.
Man, this is so heart-wrenching.
Was super excited to see her and spend time with her. We asked Kyla how did she feel about seeing her. Her reply was, "Nothing. She looks the same. She looks like the Tamira I've always known." The family has set up a GoFundMe page to help with Tamira's medical bills. If you're led to support them in any way, you can find all the information you need on Latricia's Facebook page. What do you think would be a good measure of justice in this case? Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.
Sheldon, little bootleg ass studio.
Well. I would say a good measure of justice would be to do the same thing to them that they did to that little girl, for sure. Torture the shit out of them. And I mean, shoot them. Make sure you graze them, though, because we don't want them to be taken out. We want them to feel all this pain. Shoot them in a place where we know it's not going to take them out. Shoot them in the leg, right? Point blank range. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, it ain't got to be point blank. You can go back a little bit, put them up against a wall, strap them down, aim somewhere, fuck them up. Yeah, that's what I would say. Take it old school, you know, back to where it was real. What was it? Gore. They did all kind of shit like that. They would like throw rocks and stone the shit out of somebody. Yeah, I think that would be justice. Anyway, I'm not inciting violence. I'm just trying to, you know, see what a good measure of justice would be. That's what they asked for us to give. So you let me know in the comment section below. If you vibed all the way up until this point, I really do appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Indubitably, my heart goes out to the family of this girl and this girl for having to endure all of this. You know what I'm saying? I know that father really, Ooh, that father wants some get back. That father really want to do some damage, you know what I'm saying? But hopefully they get what they deserve while in the pen. Anyway, I digress. Let me know how you feel in the comment section. Until next time, I'm SheldonVybez. I'm gonna need y'all to be cool like the other side of the pillow. Stay light on your toes like you're supposed. Oh yeah, no.
If you ain't fucking with my nigga Sheldon, nigga, fuck you. Yeah.
Oh God.